book is a real story of how I have survived all the trials and tribulations in my life, and how I still manage to survive with God's help and guidance. I've been through abuse, abandonment, and neglect. I've witnessed sexual abuse, and I've witnessed drug use as a child and teen. I am a woman who is now in her 30s while writing this book, and has finally gotten to a point of releasing and healing all my trauma. I am completely healed now, and writing this book was part of the healing journey. I have kept a good heart even through everything life has thrown at me, and I've learned to be closer to God. I trust God with helping me in every struggle. God has always provided just what I need right when I needed it. He always has, and He always will be my provider, and my real Father who loves me unconditionally. In this book I talk about my childhood, teenage years, and adulthood up until recently. My main goal I want to get out of writing this book is to help at least one person who reads it. I'm hoping it will help someone get out of difficult situations without fear, and to take leaps of faith and trust God. He will catch you. You own your life, nobody else owns you or your life decisions. I am keeping everyone's names confidential in this book. I'm not writing this story as revenge, but as a story to help other people break free from toxic environments, and to trust that God will help them out of every situation thrown at them. Miracles do happen, you just have to make the first step to leave something toxic. I forgive everyone in my past who has hurt and betrayed me. The movie Shrek played a huge part in my healing journey. I related to him, being an ugly duckling, black sheep and outcast. When I was isolated and alone, I would watch Shrek. It brought me happiness when I felt alone and helped me with anxiety. That is my favorite movie and probably always will be. When I was alone, I would have a Shrek marathon and spend a whole day watching all the Shrek movies. It comforted my inner child. Journey of taking my power back. My whole life up until now has been a non-stop rollercoaster ride. I have been a victim of circumstances my whole past life up until I learned to take my power back. I healed the traumas by hugging my inner child and praying to God and doing inner child healing meditations on YouTube. I felt like I had to heal all on my own. I had times of screaming into my pillow, so much anger and sadness was bottled up inside. Also, long drives to nowhere screaming in my car. I believe I've fully released all the pain, so now I can help other people with my story, which I will get to soon. I learned on my journey that you are never stuck. There will always be a way out of anything. God will always make a way. I have learned that I am not a victim and learned how to take my power back. I am not a people pleaser anymore, so that has put me on a lonely path, but a free one. Being alone has been a blessing and very healing. You don't get yourself into traps as easily when you put yourself first and when you stop people pleasing. What I have learned to do is to be assertive and authoritative instead of passive. For an example, instead of asking work for a day off, I would say I'm taking next Friday off. I don't give my power away anymore by being a yes man or asking for permission from anyone. I see my life as mine, and I have the control over it. I don't give my life to another person or corporation to control me. If I don't want or like something, I speak up about it. Also, Jesus said in the Bible, if you don't like something, walk away. That's why people either like me or hate me. There's no in between because I am authentic to myself. People didn't really like me when I was a pushover anyway. They just used me to do things for them, then discard of me like a piece of rubbish when they didn't need me anymore, and they would gossip about me too. Probably mocking me behind my back. When I first started saying no to things and being assertive with what I say, it used to make me a bit shaky, and caused me to have sleepless nights from the anxiety. At the same time, I felt so good, like I finally did what I want for once. It was freeing and it opened my eyes to my own power and inner strength. It showed me people's bad side too, which is a good thing. It broke me out of an illusion. Let's begin this book now with how my story starts. Here is the beginning of my story. I was born in Bunbury, Western Australia. I've never lived anywhere more than 4 years. I've travelled across Australia by car more than 3 times, probably around 7 times. I lived in caravan parks, run-down mouldy old houses, and even houses on stilts with sewing pins in the carpet. My favourite place to live is Queensland. I just don't like the snakes and overgrown tropical bugs. I love the tropical weather and green tropical plants and all the fruit trees. One caravan park my family stayed at had coconut trees growing, and I used to eat the fallen coconuts as a kid. It was fun drilling them and breaking them open. There were huge rhino beetles, which I loved to watch and play with. I'm the oldest child of 5 children, all from the same parents. As far as I know, which I'll go into in another chapter, I've never fitted in or had friends my whole life so far. I was an outcast, a burden to my family, teachers, and girls my age. It didn't make sense because I was a good kid. I was quiet and well behaved, but no one liked me. Even being invisible, I was still a burden to my family. It wasn't until I was around 26 years old that I learnt about narcissists and toxic family dynamics. I came across a psychologist on YouTube, and she made me realize that there's nothing wrong with me. My family is toxic and tried to destroy all my confidence. Both parents were Jehovah's Witnesses a few times in my childhood and teen years. My parents changed religions often, up until they dropped all beliefs altogether. They were abusive to me growing up, emotionally and physically. My youngest siblings have no idea how easy they had it compared to me and my oldest brother. I was teased at school and left out a lot because I didn't have clothes that fit, or they were old second-hand clothing. I will talk more about the neglect later. Me and my oldest brother just didn't get what other kids had growing up. My oldest brother had it easier than me though growing up, even though our younger siblings had it even easier than us. He was the golden child. He had friends at school and nice clothes that fit. My parents bought him new uniform, and I had to wear a second-hand old and faded jumper with holes in it from an op shop. All my uniform was second-hand. My little sister, the youngest, was also spoilt and treated way better than me and my brothers. My parents used the money they got from Centrelink to buy drugs and alcohol, and neglected my brothers and me. They did give us kids healthy food though, which I am grateful for. We were all skinny kids for our ages though. We ate healthy food, just not enough food to be nourished fully. We got given the bare minimum. I missed school excursions sometimes too, because they didn't believe they had to pay for it because it was a public school. They assumed the government should pay for it. Me and my oldest brother missed out on some school events because of our parents' arrogance. My parents gave us salad chapatis for lunch to be healthy so that they wouldn't have to ever take us to the doctor. I always had stomach aches from the chapatis Mum made because I was allergic to wheat, which got worse as I got older. Now I have celiacs as an adult. We weren't allowed lollies or especially soft drink. They were strict with junk food. My parents, being Jehovah's Witnesses, made them strict on me and my oldest brother. We weren't allowed to eat certain meat on certain days, and we had to do a day of fasting called atonement, which was extremely hard to do when you're little and super skinny. I remember being so hungry on atonement. Once my family drove somewhere in the middle of nowhere to have atonement, and I remember being so hungry that I felt fatigue. They drove to KFC that night, and I remember scoffing it down like I hadn't eaten in a month. We were a family of 7 living under one roof, or caravan. That's why it was so difficult being heard or respected. It's hard to be heard when you are made to be the one that everyone puts down and laughs at. When I made a joke, no one laughed at it. They laughed at me for telling it and made fun of me. I've been to 9 primary schools, or more, homeschooled, and 2 high schools. I have a lot to talk about regarding my school years. High school was the worst time in my life. I talk about that in a later chapter. To be where I am now, balanced and free, took around 6 years in total of healing and letting go of the past. It wasn't easy, but I didn't want to carry the pain around with me for the rest of my life, so I had to do the healing for myself. I have fully healed and forgiven all my family. I'm telling my story to show that it's possible to reach a place of being fully healed.